Okay, hit record, and boom. Thanks for tuning in today. Today is Tuesday. I don't know why I always do these date things. Eventually I'll stop doing it and you guys will be like, when did you stop doing it? Today is Tuesday, the 31st of July, 2018. I had the day off today. Had a little dentist appointment. Nothing major, a little cleaning. Found out that the lady who used to be my hygienist had passed away. Rest in peace, Tammy. Kind of a downer. Don't want to open up on a downer. Did have a new lady cleaning my teeth today. She was a bit aggressive. She kept poking at one spot inside of my mouth, like you know, if you have like a mosquito bite or something like that, and you start scratching it, and then you can't stop scratching it, and before you know it, you're scratching like a spot, and it bleeds, and then it gets a scab, and then you just can't stop scratching it. You're just like obsessive about it. Well, she went to clean something on the inside of my mouth, and she hit part of skin, part of the gums, not the tooth, the gums, and just kept picking at it and picking at it and picking at it. And about the 20th time she touched the same spot, I was like, literally, lady, can you not do that? That's, you know, that's aggressive there. But anyway, got the teeth cleaned. I had a little spot in my front of my tooth, singular tooth. I had a front tooth that had a little spot on it. It looked like it was cracked. I could feel it with my tongue. Apparently I had a cavity filled at one time in the front, and they'd put some kind of bonding agent on it, and the bonding agent had cracked, which was very unusual. Even my dentist was like, yeah, this doesn't normally happen, but I can smooth that out, that's no problem. And he fixed it. If you guys are looking at the home version right now on the YouTube, you're like, oh look, he's smiling. I am trying to film this today with the lights out in this room. This is daytime. I haven't recorded many daytime podcasts, but it just so happens that I had the day off today because of the dentist appointment. And so I figured, why not go ahead and record one? I got time. Had a nice little storm the last couple of days. We've had some severe weather here in our little hometown of Florence, South Carolina. We've had some flooding. We've had some issues with trees being blown over in people's yards. Our place didn't get it too bad. We were actually okay. It's cool today. The temperature, you know, for this being late July, the temperature outside is like 82 degrees, which is nice. But, you know, had a little chance to have some lunch with my mom. We went up to King Jefe to have some lunch. I know I've talked before about having an unsponsored event where I wanted to do a commercial for somebody who doesn't pay me money. But I'm a big fan. So if you're ever in Florence, South Carolina, check out King Jefe. It's spelled Jefe, Jefe, which actually stands for boss. So it's King Boss. I don't know how they came up with the name of it, but they have some really fantastic tacos, and the Cali bowl is amazing. And because I'm on this keto diet, I just have it with no lettuce. I mean, excuse me, with no rice and extra guacamole. A friend of mine had gone there the other day, and she was telling me that they have chicharrones, which is pork skins, fresh pork skins, and you can get that with a cheese sauce, and it is delicious. And they serve it with like this little thing of what the lady called agave sauce, which is just sweet nectar stuff. And of course, one taste of it, and I was like, this can't be keto. So I had a little bit of it, but I didn't eat all of it, and I was like, okay, that's enough. I started to record a podcast Saturday night with my buddy Greg. Greg had contacted me and he was like, hey, let's do a podcast. I was like, yeah. But then Greg got busy with whatever. I mean, I think his wife had been out of town and she was coming back into town. So maybe Greg was busy getting busy. I don't know what you were doing, Greg. But it's no big deal. We can always record another time. I have been checking out other people's podcasts, and you guys are doing great. Not bad for first podcasts. Frank's Madhouse on Anchor is he's an angry guy. He's got some things he wants to vent about, and in his first episode, I think he's figuring out how to use the Anchor app, and there's only so many minutes of it, and it cuts out at a certain time. But I think that's because somebody may have called him during the middle of it. That's one thing that Anchor's got to work on with their phone app. If you get a phone call while you're recording it on there, somehow it kicks you off. I have found that if you record it on the laptop, it works a little bit better because then you can control that kind of stuff. The only problem with recording it on the Anchor FM website is that you have to use Google. It won't work with Safari. And if you have something you need to edit, you can't edit it on the Anchor website. You have to, if you're going to do that, if you have a podcast where you feel like, oh, I may have to edit some of this, it's probably best to go ahead and record it into GarageBand or some other recording type program. That way you can actually see your audio. You can go in and click it and grab it and take it out if need be. I'm actually recording this one on GarageBand. I'm trying to do a couple of things at the same time. I went on the app on the phone and I went into the Anchor app. I selected some music that I wanted to play in the beginning, and then I bounced out of it, and I'm going to record this audio on GarageBand, and then once I get that on there, then I'm going to go back in and try and put it together so that it has a little bit of the music selection from Anchor and a little bit of my GarageBand stuff. I'm just learning. Like, every bit of this is learning. If you guys are going through the same thing, you'll understand. If you're not, this is probably boring as hell. Sorry. Anyway, let's go into what I've been listening to. I've been listening to some podcasts lately. Of course, it's probably going to be nothing that surprises you. Of course, Joe Rogan's podcast I've been listening to. He recently had an episode with Andrew Santino, which is a stand-up comedian and an actor. And I got turned on to this by a buddy of mine, Byron. He sent me a message saying, hey, what are they talking about with this skit stuff? I listened to the whole podcast where he talked about doing a skit for something for television, and I didn't know what show they were talking about. I couldn't follow it. But it's a good interview. It's fun. It's just a bunch of friends talking about comedy and talking about life, and I enjoyed that. That's episode 1148. I jumped around a little bit and listened to the end of this Jeff Garlin episode, episode 1146. Jeff Garlin is an actor, comedian, producer, director, writer. I may have talked about him before. It was interesting to hear his perspective, being an older comic, an older kind of accomplished guy, talk about how his role in comedy is and his role in the world of Hollywood is, and you know how sometimes your favorite place to be is at home and it takes a lot of effort to go out. You know, Tom Segura talks about that on his latest Netflix special called Disgraceful. He starts off, the first little bit he talks about is how, listen, I'm thankful to be here, but I got to be honest, I'd rather be at home. And I think that's true with a lot of us. A lot of us would rather be at home. All of our creature comforts are there. All of our favorite things are there. I mean, you know, anytime I think about going and doing something, like say an exotic trip. Say you got like a fun trip planned, like you want to go to Disney or you want to go to, I don't know, wherever. You just pick a destination. We'll just throw out there Hawaii. Let's say you're going to Hawaii. You're looking forward to Hawaii. Oh, Hawaii's going to be great. Oh, I can't wait to go to Hawaii. We have done that years ago as like a bucket list trip. And when we went to Hawaii, Hawaii was awesome. But it was also nice to get home and get into our own bed and go, it's good to be home. And it is good to be home. I mean, I've listened to podcasts before. I can't even remember which one, but I remember Joe Rogan talking to a sleep expert about how the reason you sleep better at home than anywhere else is the fact that when you're in a strange environment, you're not fully in REM sleep, because in the back of your mind, you're constantly thinking about, you know, what is the danger around you, what can hurt you. So you're always like laying there thinking, I need to be partially awake because I don't know what's going to happen, and you're not fully able to get into a deep sleep because part of your alert brain is awake and thinking of, I got to be able to hear for danger. I got to be conscious of what's going on. Whereas when you're at home, you're more familiar with your surroundings, and therefore you sleep deeper. You can get into that full REM sleep, and you know, be able to access all of the rest that you're supposed to get. But again, when you're not at home, you don't do that, which is, I guess, why when a lot of people say when they get home, they finally hit the bed and they go, finally I'm at home, yay, I can sleep. So anyway, I was looking up on my phone if I could see who the scientist was, but Joe just does so many podcasts. I can't even find the one. But anyway, I'm also listening to a MMA podcast that he does, episode 36 with Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen. It was recorded this past Wednesday. Brendan Schaub and Brian Callen have a podcast called Fighter and the Kid. It's hilarious. Brendan Schaub, if you don't know, is a former UFC fighter. Brian Callen is an actor, comedian. He's been in lots of things. If you see him, you'll go, oh, that guy. His Instagram is hilarious. He does a lot of really funny comedy stuff on his Instagram. But Brian Callen is on the Goldbergs. If you're watching the Goldbergs, he is the coach. And he has his own television show that's going to be starting soon called School. He's the gym coach. So Brian's funny. It's enjoyable to listen to him and Brendan Schaub hang out. Brendan has gotten into comedy now that his UFC career is kind of retired. And Brendan's highly entertaining. Recently, Brendan Schaub got into a beef with Dana White, which runs the UFC. They kind of got in a back and forth little heated argument on Twitter. If you don't know what it is, just go on Twitter and look it up. I'm not gonna backlog everything, but basically, they were just talking trash to each other, and it got real funny. I am going to listen to more. I've got a bunch of them I got to listen to. Honestly, a lot of podcasts out there, a lot of stuff to listen to. Jeez. Good grief. Good grief. I am watching a few things on Netflix. I'm still watching Sons of Anarchy. The wife and I are. We finished season 5. We got 2 more seasons to go. I know a lot of people have already watched this show, but I noticed that people are talking about the fact that they're having a spin-off show starting up this fall. If you don't know what Sons of Anarchy is, it's a show about a motorcycle club. They're kind of outlaw biker guys in Northern California. And they get involved with all sorts of dealings with drugs and guns and, kind of figuring out what their part in this world is and trying to be outlaw bikers and also figure out a way to make a living and take care of one another. And there's a lot of killing. Especially at this point in the show. If you're watching it, or if you watched it, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But 2 more seasons to go. It's a pretty heavy show to watch because there is a lot of death. There's a lot of death. So we had to take a break. I told my wife, I said, let's finish season 5 and then we'll watch The Ranch. So we're watching The Ranch on Netflix right now, and The Ranch is just like 30 minutes long. It's Ashton Kutcher and Danny Matheson and what's the guy with the mustache? The big tall guy. God, my mind's drawing a blank. Let me see if I can ask Google. Will Google do it while I'm on the phone, while I'm on the podcast? This is gonna be weird. You ready? Cast of The Ranch on Netflix. Let's see what it says. There it is. Sam Elliott. See, why can't I think of that? Sam Elliott. Sam Elliott plays their dad. His mustache, I think, gets a separate role. I asked my wife last night if she thinks that when he negotiates, he gets 2 separate prices, one for him and one for his mustache. If he doesn't, he should. He needs a better agent. Deborah Winger's in it too, which is kind of cool. I dig Deborah Winger. But yeah, so I'm watching the latest season of The Ranch. It's pretty good so far. It's one of those kind of mindless comedies. You can just turn it on and laugh, and they have some serious stuff in it, but for the most part, it's just a comedy. So, kind of taking our mind off of the heaviness of Sons of Anarchy. And there's all kinds of other stuff I want to watch. I'm also watching the Orange is the New Black new season. Orange is the New Black, if anybody's never watched it, is a show about women in prison. And it follows like a main character as her journey into prison and what an eye-opening event it is. Spoiler alert, if you've seen through season 5, season 5 was last year. They had a big riot, a prison riot. And there's a woman on the show called Taystee. And I thought that Taystee deserved a Oscar or an Emmy or whatever it is they give for TV shows acting. She was incredible last season. This season, because they had the riot, they closed the prison and they've moved into a new facility. And there's a lot more people and there's a lot more dangers and a lot of more dangerous people. But it's still good. I'm still in it. It is a show that my wife does not watch. So it is one I'm watching by myself. So that way, you know, whenever she's at work or I happen to have a day off like today, I can record the podcast and I can go in there and keep watching some episodes. They're about an hour long. They're sort of hard to take too because it's a lot of drama. So you gotta be mentally prepared to go up and down the roller coaster as they go. But I'm into it. I'm into the characters. I'm into their roles. I'm into what's going on. I'd like to be able to talk about it, but I can't talk about it because other people haven't watched it yet. See, that's the weird thing about this binge watching TV is you don't know what people have seen and what they haven't seen. You know, today at lunch, I had a conversation with my mom about 13 Reasons Why. And I've talked with my brother on this before. 13 Reasons Why was an extremely interesting venture for Netflix to take. It was sort of a risk-taking thing for them to say, yeah, we'll make that. If you don't know, 13 Reasons Why is about a girl a high school kid who commits suicide. And in there you find out about, you know, things like bullying and sexual abuse and verbal abuse, physical abuse, all kinds of situations that these kids are in, and how it all manifests into this girl who taken her own life, which was extremely sad. But they do such a good job of showing how real it is from all standpoints, from the point of the teachers, from the point of the parents, from the point of the kids themselves, and from the counselors, and you know, across the board. Season 1 kind of shows you everything from the main two characters' point of view, the guy who's listening to the tapes, and from the girl who committed suicide. Through her tapes, you hear her voice and you hear her point of view. In the second season, you have more of everyone else's point of view. And you know, they say that there's always 3 sides to a story: your side, my side, and the truth. And the truth lies somewhere in the middle. And when you watch the second season, you realize there is a third truth. There is somewhere in the middle where some of this is stuff that we knew about, and some of this is stuff we don't know about. And the way they did it is done really well. They're not glamorizing suicide. They're not glamorizing bullying. They're not glamorizing a happy ending fairy tale story where everything worked out in the end. This is sort of the reality of what some kids are going through nowadays. And it is heart-wrenching and it is sad, and you feel for these characters. But it is what it is. So I highly recommend all of those shows. I also recommend, coming out soon, The Ozarks. The Ozarks has a new season coming out. I should just call this stuff I watched on Netflix. I mean, this is what this should be called. The Ozarks is coming out soon. It's got Justin Bateman in it, and he's sort of gone all in, kind of like what's his name did with Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston. Justin Bateman's gone all in with this. I mean, he's put in his own money, he's acting in it, he's directing it, he's writing part of it, he's producing it, and it is awesome. It is from the first 3 minutes in, it hooks you and you are taken on a wild ride. And there's a lot of jaw-dropping moments, a lot of holy crap, I can't believe that happened. But yeah, the new season of Ozarks is coming out. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of good TV. I'm watching more TV now than when I had TV. You know, once I got rid of DirecTV and got rid of their stupid app and just have been doing the Netflix and the Amazon, I have not had a lacking for anything to watch that was just captivating. And the best part is, no commercials. Yay! Hooray! I don't have to watch Phil Mickelson talk about mesothelioma and not blink for like an hour. I mean, he's got this uncanny ability to stare at the camera and not blink. It's like he has his eyes like extra wide. So like you could tell that like as soon as they go cut, he's like blinking really hard and rubbing his eyes. But like the whole time they're doing his little scene, he doesn't blink, and it's unnerving. If you ever watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't have regular TV anymore, so I don't have to watch that crap. Good luck, Phil. I like you as a golfer, but as a commercial guy, blink, buddy. It looks like you're a robot. He might be a robot. I don't know. Maybe they've already developed a robot that's Phil Mickelson-like. Of course, if you were going to make a robot, would you make it Phil Mickelson? I mean, you got a lot of options. I would think that the president would probably be the easiest one to do. But, you know, hey, whatever. Anyway, I know a lot of people are getting on the president right now, and I get it. I get it. You know, I hear about it on every podcast I listen to. On almost every time there's something on the news, people are pissed off about our president. And I don't think that they understand that he has such limited power and that most of the things that are being done by Congress and by the House. And the weird part is a lot of the things that he said he was going to do, he is doing. And I think that a lot of people voted for him just because they're fed up of the old system, because they're fed up of the way things were. And, you know, he's making waves. Yeah. If you don't like it, I mean, if you're on the opposing side and you're like, we need to do something about this. This is something I just heard Joe talk about on his podcast with Brandon Schaub and Brian Callen. They were talking about how, you know, if you don't like it, you know, learn to have a civil discourse. That's one of the things that George Washington said, is the only way that we prosper as a union is to have civil discourse. And through civility is how we can achieve that. If we are all on tribes and we're all on teams and we're like, you know, fuck you, I'm on this team, then we never come to course with one another to where we can find an accord. We never find a middle ground. We never realize that the things that we have a difference on is not worth putting each other down about. Sometimes the thing we have a difference on is just a difference of opinion. And I think that's a problem with a lot of America right now is people just don't know how to have a civil type disagreement. I've been trying to come up with things to talk about on here, and I've kind of made little headers in my little notes app on my phone. A couple of things I thought would be pretty interesting to talk to somebody about. I want to get everybody's opinion, but I'll go ahead and throw these things out there as like preliminary type things. Like, here's an idea I had. What if you had a superpower, but you also had super drawbacks? Like, say you could fly, but if you flew, you could only fly naked, and that would be like your super drawback. It's like, I'm gonna take off. Hang on a second. Let me drop all my clothes. And you know, everybody's like, "Oh my God, he's naked! Look, he's flying, but he's naked. Why is he naked?" You know, it'd be like an interesting, funny kind of. I'm always looking for the funny side of things. You know, like if you could, if you had like the power of invisibility. What was it? If you had the power of invisibility, part of the drawback is you would then have to be invisible for the same amount of time, and you couldn't control when it would happen. Or I think one of my original ideas was if you could fly, what if the only time that you could fly is when you also had to profusely vomit? So like if you were going to fly, you had to like throw up the entire time that you were flying. That'd be awful. Or what if you could time travel? Let's say that you could time travel, but every second time that you went to time travel, you time traveled to a time when you had no control of where you were going. It'd be kind of a neat idea. These are just ideas. I like to throw around this kind of crap just to see what people think. Okay, so here's another idea. What if lightsabers were real? What's the dumbest thing you would use them for? So of course everybody says if lightsabers were real, it'd be so awesome because they could do this and they could do that and blah blah blah. And I thought, yeah, but what's the dumbest thing you could use it for? And I thought, what if you used it to like cut your toast or something? Or, you know, you're like, hang on, I'm gonna make this salad, but first I need to cut up all my vegetables, and you pull out your lightsaber. You know? So there's an idea. I got a thing on here. It says, what if you could change one thing about your life? What would it be? It's sort of a serious topic. But I'd like to ask that of people. I'd like to ask them if they could change one thing about their life, what would it be? I think I was asked the question one time, if money wasn't an issue, what would I want to do? And at the time, my answer was, I don't know, or travel. The idea of being able to travel appealed to me. But, you know, in all honesty, I don't know. I've lived such a life of necessity to earn money that I don't know what I would do if money was not an issue anymore. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the podcast. I'm enjoying creating. But it sort of makes me wonder, how much of this would I do, you know, moving forward? Is this the thing that keeps me sane? Is this podcast? Is this YouTube? Is this outlet what keeps me from going crazy? I'm not sure. Maybe it would be that I could eat all the carbs I want and I'd never get fat. Ooh, that'd be fun. Yeah, that's what I would change. This keto diet does have me craving things that I wish I could eat or drink, and I can't right now. Got to stick to the goal, right? It's all about goals. I also wrote down here, parallel universes, your version of life. The reason I wrote that down is it started as a conversation that I had a while back with, I think, my mom, where I said we were visiting her at the lake, and there had been another mass shooting at like a movie theater or something. And I told her, I said, you know, I'm listening to a lot of podcasts, and in there, some people are talking about the possibility of parallel universes, and the probability of parallel universes. With as many stars are out there and as many galaxies we don't know about, there is the possibility that we are living a mirrored life that are measured and multiplied exponentially. And what if in each version of this universe there are every version out there has one version that's your version? You know, there is a discussion in church about how Jesus says that the church is not the church, that it is the people. You know, God says that He made us all in His image, and you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself. What if all this is for the same reason? What if we are all connected? What if we are all the same person living a life over and over and over again, and that the experience of life is, in a way, what God is? What if we are God? Not each one of us individually, but collectively, all of us. What if our experience of life, of joy, of happiness, of being the perpetrator and the perpetrated, of being the slave owner and the slave, of being a girl and a boy and a dog and whatever. What if our existence and our life and our energy and everything about it is all connected? You know, what if this leaves a question of what if a lot. What if the idea of reincarnation is not necessarily real, but reincarnation is actually just us reliving our life over and over and over again from different perspectives? What if the light at the end of the tunnel is actually a birth canal of us being born again? What if our beliefs in heaven is just a way of us realizing that all of this is connected in such a beautiful way that through the transference of our understanding, we're supposed to experience love on a level that we don't even understand? What if in my version of my life, this shooting happens at this theater, but in somebody else's version, they are the shooter, and then again in someone else's version, they are the one that's being shot? What if I'm supposed to live this life and see these things so that I understand compassion and grief and fear and knowledge and apathy and hope and all of that stuff that goes with it? But yet, if the idea of the multiverse is folded enough, what if I'm also the person who is frustrated and carrying out those awful acts? What if? I don't claim to know everything. You know, there's only so much that you know, and then there's things you have faith in. And this is just something I don't know. This is something I'm curious about. I'm curious about people's opinions too. I want to know what they think about it. So be prepared. If you're going to be on the podcast, I'm probably going to ask you these questions and see what you think. Hit record again on my camera. I got another thing on here that says, what if Jesus was a time traveler? Hey, wouldn't that be cool? What if Jesus was actually a time traveler? Well, you know, go back way in time and you're able to say, hey, I'm Jesus and I'm going to do all these miracles. And I think that'd be kind of a fun idea. I don't know if it's real. But what if? Like I said, what if? We talk a lot about the possibility of aliens, and I think it's funny how we perceive aliens as being these beings from another planet, and supposedly they either look like us, or if you follow movies, they look like some kind of insect. Has anybody ever seen anything on YouTube about octopus? How octopus can problem solve, and how they have brains in each one of their tentacles, and their own central nervous system in each one of their tentacles, and how if they're under attack they can actually detach one of their own tentacles so that they can escape, and how they can change their shape, their color, and their RNA when needed. If you look at an octopus, it's hard to believe that that's not an alien. Of course, if you look at an octopus, you also go, wait, what else is not an alien? Or what else could be an alien? What about cockroaches? Cockroaches, you can cut their head off and they live for 3 more weeks. What gives with that? You know, and what is the idea of an alien anyway? Is it just something foreign to what we perceive as being normal? Because that's basically what it is. What if we're aliens? What if we didn't actually start here? What if we just ended up here? What if we're all cosmic dust? You know, they talk about how in the human body we have, you know, parts of stardust within our system. You know, what if it's all foreign? What if it's all unexplainable? And yet we try to put labels on it the whole way. Makes you wonder. You know, when I was a kid, I remember hearing about the fact that the lifespan of a fly, once it turns from a maggot into a fly, is like 24 hours. And I thought, wow, 24 hours. What is 24 hours to a fly? Like, a fly moves pretty fast. You know, what if their metabolism is faster? What if their whole world is faster? What if 24 hours to a fly is an entire lifetime? But to us, our time span, quote unquote time span, is, you know, average life is what, 70 something years for adults? What's going on with my camera? Focus. Our lifespan as humans are like 70 plus years on this earth. But to that fly, that may look like we're moving extremely slow. If you think about the lifespan of a sea turtle or a whale who lives to be hundreds of years old by our standard, what if to those whales and those turtles we look like flies, that we're just moving around so fast? What if their days are measured by moon cycles instead of sun cycles? Kind of makes you wonder about our own perception and what it means. You know, we measure things as we see it, and we give things labels like time and light and speed and gravity, and we want to perceive that we know everything, when in fact we're so young in our understanding about who we are and what we are. I don't know. I mean, we're still fighting over the fact that we feel like we're different people because we have different skin color. And that has nothing to do with anything other than the fact that some of our natives grew up either where there was a lot of sun or there were a lot of snow and they stayed indoors more. That's really it. Otherwise, we're the same. Yet people still today in 2018 want to separate each other by the color of their skin. We still got a lot of room to grow, people. We have the internet. We have a lot of conveniences. We have access to things that we've never had access to before as far as information. We have advancements in medicine now that can help us understand things like you've never understood before. And yet, we still treat each other poorly. Maybe the next revolution isn't a civil discourse revolution. Maybe the next revolution is an understanding revolution. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to challenge everybody out there. If you're listening to the sound of my voice, I want you to take a step towards change in some way. I want you to challenge yourself. Talk to somebody you've never talked to before. Introduce yourself. Step outside your comfort zone just a little bit and see where it takes you. We only change this world by interaction. We build it through community. I mean, if nobody takes any step towards change, then nothing ever changes. With everything as heated and angry and separated and tribal as it is right now, the biggest thing that we could do right now is learn to love one another. Learn to understand what it's like to walk in another person's shoes and realize that we're not all that different. Maybe we're the same. Maybe we're stuck in a parallel universe and that person is actually you in a different version. Think about that. That's it for now. I'm going to shut this off. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll be back. I'm going to try and get some guests on here. See what I can line up. Y'all take care now. Be good to one another. You only get one shot at this. Bye.